Dude, I have indigestion something fierce right now. Speaking of, that Nintendo Direct. If you like Paper Mario, or if you ever really wanted an F-Zero Battle Royale, you're probably happy with it. However, there wasn't anything there that particularly piqued my curiosity or intrigue. Closest thing there was Thousand Year Door, which is pretty cool, admittedly. But I think it's now more apparent than ever before, especially when you look at all the leaks that have come out about the Switch 2, that the Switch is on its way out. It's preparing for its final bow, when all the games that are being revealed for the thing now are pretty much just remasters or ports or whatever. The Peach game's a bit of a different story, but still that's more the exception than the rule, at least with that Direct. It kind of feels like to me that Super Mario Wonder is going to be the last great oorah for the Switch as a whole before they really start to put the nose to the grindstone for the Switch 2. I gotta admit, I am kind of surprised they haven't started marketing the thing, but then I looked back into it a little bit more and they didn't start marketing the Switch until like 6 months or so before the release of it, so... And also bear in mind, it's Nintendo, it doesn't necessarily have to make sense for them. But yeah, I think it's safe to say this has been one of Nintendo's best generations when it comes to a console. The power of the console was weak compared to its peers, however, when it comes to sheer functionality and suite of games, the Switch is kind of on top, or at least near the top. I think the Switch definitively stamped into place Nintendo's main new target audience, which is a more casual audience, or at least a broader spectrum of audience members, on top of the hybridization of the video game console, because the Switch can be played in both a handheld mode and in the docked form, so you can appeal to both the portable gaming crowd as well as the stay-at-home, on the couch, or at your desk console gamer. And it does a decent job at appealing to both as well. The Switch isn't exactly cumbersome in any way, but its battery life leaves a bit to be desired. But from a solid control scheme, and an incredible controller with the Pro Controller, what did the Switch really lack or fall back on compared to its peers? Online's a big one. Yeah, they added Ethernet ports in later iterations of the Nintendo Switch, but I have the launch variation without an Ethernet port. I do not know how that thing ever got greenlit. An Ethernet port should be baseline going forward into the future. No exceptions in my opinion. And obviously the power behind the console. If a game focuses on a very stylized art style, it can get away with it. But when your big signature games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom cannot even sustain 30 at all times, 30 FPS to be specific, it really shows the age and limitations that the Switch has. I think baseline, bare minimum, the Switch 2 has to be able to pump out 1080p 60 FPS as an option for all first-party titles. If a third-party developer doesn't want to optimize their game for the thing, cool, okay, I guess. But if the game's coming from Nintendo or a Nintendo developer, then the game should at least, at minimum, have a 1080p 60 FPS option. That should be the minimum, because I think the general consensus at this point, on top with all the leaks, is that it's going to be essentially a Switch 2. And that it'll be basically the Switch, but with more power behind it, which is all I really want. I don't think the play is to try and go for a different gimmick. I think those days for Nintendo should be over. They have found their place with this hybridization model, and I think they should stick with it because it's a really solid foundation, and they really cornered the market for it. I think it's safe to say, especially after that Direct, that they're saving all their big guns for the next console, for trying to line up things to launch in that launch year. Because remember the Switch, that game system did not have much, if anything, when the game console first launched. What did we even have in the first year of the Switch? We had Mario Odyssey, we had Breath of the Wild, which was also on the Wii U, and then we had Xenoblade 2, and probably a few other games, but it wasn't much. One of the reasons I think Xenoblade 2 even popped off like it did was because there's pretty much nothing else to play in the freaking thing. So one of the reasons I got Xenoblade 2 to begin with, and see where that's ended up now. I think they're probably cognizant of that, especially after having such a wide install base with the Switch now. They know they need to have a good, solid foundation of games to advertise for the Switch 2 to help get people to move over. I think backwards compatibility is an absolute must. I think the console will fail if it doesn't have it. Or at least it'll go in the direction of Wii U. I think having backwards compatibility is a must. I'm with Phil Spencer on this issue. Ever since the Xbox One and PS4 era, console gamers have developed a digital library of games. You could have digital libraries before, but it really came to the purview and to the spotlight in the gaming industry with the PS4 and Xbox One for console gamers. People are going to want and demand that those digital libraries, at minimum, can be played on the next console. However realistic or possible you think that is irrelevant. That's going to be the expectation. I think Nintendo almost certainly knows this, so the Switch 2 has to be backwards compatible. I don't see any reality where it isn't. If they really want to help convince people to go from the Switch to the Switch 2, giving free upgrades from the Switch version of a game to a Switch 2 version would go a long way in doing that. Something like how the Xbox does it, where they say, hey, you can play your Xbox One games on the Xbox Series X, but we'll up it to 4K 60 FPS for you. It's not for every game, but that's quite a nice feature to have. I think the Switch 2 should have something similar. There have been talks about a version of Breath of the Wild being shown off that runs kind of like a PS5 game, and I'll be honest with you, if you can give me an upgraded version of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch 2 that run at 60 FPS or even more, that look beautiful as well with upscaling, I'll play them again. I'll absolutely play them again. Being able to run through a forest and not have an FPS drop down to the freaking single digits, sign me up. I think one of the guiding rules when it comes to the Switch 2 will have to be keep it simple, stupid, kiss. Don't try and make it too fancy. Don't try and make it too flashy. The Switch 2. People understand it's a sequel console. The name is fine. They can even do the Super Switch if they wanted to. Or call it the Super Nintendo Switch. And basically just be the Switch, but with more power behind it. I'll tell you this right now. If every Xenoblade game that is on the Switch can run at 60 FPS, I don't even care about a possible graphics update. If they just simply run at 60 FPS, I'll play through the entire series again, on stream. So many more genres become infinitely more tolerable on the Switch, too, if they're 60 FPS baseline. You do that, you fix your online, because it's god-freaking awful on the Switch. You add more backwards compatible games for, like, say, even the GameCube or whatever. You have a launch year that includes games like a 3D Mario game, which I imagine is coming down the pipeline. Upscaled and higher frame rate Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Same with all the Xenoblade games. A Xenoblade export, that Metroid game that keeps getting delayed, and that's a pretty solid launch window. I do not know why they haven't made another version of Twilight Princess HD or Wind Waker HD, but if you bring those to the Switch 2 as well, there you go. I really don't think you need to advertise that much for the Switch 2. I mean, that much new stuff. All you really need is to show the consumer that it's a far more powerful and competitive console baseline. I imagine the price in USD will probably be around $400 to $500. I could even see them down the line maybe making a handheld-only version that's cheaper or something, but I think the price point they're probably going to tackle is around $400. They could do what the Xbox and PlayStation used to do, and that is you sell the console at a loss and try to make it up with video game sales. They could do that. That would enable them to get more power in at a cheaper price line. But Nintendo recently have been having trouble with selling two banger consoles back to back. You had the Wii, then the Wii U, and now the Switch. Will the Switch 2 go the way of the Switch or the Wii U in terms of sales? I think just by giving it more power and making it known that it's a separate console so you don't have that confusion factor like you did with the Wii U for some people, and you have good games for it at launch, and in those early months when the console launches, I think the Switch 2 can do really well. I'm not entirely sure why they're waiting on announcing the thing. Maybe they just prefer having a smaller window to market it, so it's more tighter and they can have more frequent announces and updates about it. Maybe that's the play. Only time will tell. But like with every big console launch, a lot can go right and a lot can go wrong. But I don't think they have to try a whole new gimmick. The Switch is a workable formula. Keep with it, iterate on it, make it better. Fix the problems that the Switch had, which was a launch window with not many games, and online, and power. Fix those three things, and they're good to go. At least in my opinion. But let me know in the comments down below what you think, how you feel about a possible Nintendo Switch 2. When do you think it'll get announced? When do you think it'll get released? What games do you want to see in the launch window? So not just like day one, but like the first 6 months or the first year of its release. What do you want to see? And what do you think that needs to be there for the Switch 2 to do well, at least in that initial year? I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. So I'm going to call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.